The message arrives at the exact wrong moment, or maybe the exact right one. He's already decided. He's standing on a bridge with nothing left to calculate. The debt won't move, the jobs don't pay enough, and the friend who started all of this sent one message months ago. Just one. I'm sorry, I can't give the money back. That was it. Jin-soo spent everything after that running. Different jobs, same result. Loan sharks who knew his address until he stopped having one. He got good at disappearing into crowds. Once he slipped through an entire film set just to lose 2 men who were following him. Now he's on a bridge, and his phone buzzes. A large sum just landed in his account, followed by a single line. "We'd like to buy the time you were about to waste. Get in the vehicle." A limousine pulls up. Nobody in the car answers his questions. He gets in anyway, because what exactly does he have to lose? The car drops him at an empty theater. On a table, 2 stacks of cash, a red envelope, numbered cards from 1 to 8. The envelope explains the rules. He's been selected for the 8 show. Participants exchange their time for money. Food and accommodation are free. Money accumulates every minute. The show ends when the allotted time runs out, or when a participant dies. If he wants to leave, the cash on the table is his. No questions. If he wants to play, he picks a number and walks through the curtain. Jin-soo picks up the cash. He's about to leave. Then he puts it back down. He was going to waste that time anyway. He picks card number 3. He pushes through the curtain. On the other side, a vast atrium. Cold, clean, elegant. A countdown clock showing 24 hours. Stairs leading up to 8 floors. His card opens the floor 3. Inside, an empty room. A screen pretending to be a window. Cameras in every corner. A delivery chute. A uniform. A rule book. He has less than a minute before the show starts. He reads fast. Wear the uniform. Deposit all personal belongings. Stay in your room from midnight to 8 a.m. Never block the cameras. Any violation costs half your prize money. Anything you want goes through the intercom, deducted from your earnings. Everything here has special prices. The lights flash. Midnight, 30,001, then 60,000, then 90,000. Every minute, Jin-soo stands in front of the scoreboard and watches his debt shrink, minute by minute. He can't stop doing the math. For the first time in months, the numbers are moving in the right direction. Then he needs to use the bathroom. There is no bathroom. He presses the intercom. Nobody answers the toilet question. A blanket costs 1 million won, 100 times the price outside. So instead, 1 kilo of old newspapers, some cardboard to sleep on, and an empty plastic bottle. For everything else. That first night, Jin-soo sleeps on the floor wrapped in newspaper. Over 7 million won accumulated above his head. He came in from a bridge. He's already richer than he's been in years. He has no idea what that's going to cost him. 8 a.m., the doors open. 7 strangers, 8 participants total, 1 per floor. They decide immediately. No names, just floor numbers. Simpler. The first thing they all notice, the clock says 36 hours, not 24. Someone made a purchase while everyone was sleeping. They look toward floor 6. He'd tested the intercom, cigarettes and a lighter, just to see how it worked. The moment the items appeared in the chute, the time dropped. He shrugs. The lesson lands immediately. Purchases cost everyone's time, not just yours, everyone's. They agree fast, essentials only. 8 plastic buckets, toilet paper, sanitary pads, garbage bags, cigarettes. Everyone grabs a bucket and heads back up. An hour later, stomachs growling, no food in sight, a voice comes down from floor 8. She's already eaten. She received 12 meal kits. She used the water bottles to take a bath. She sampled all the kits to choose her favorites. The group goes up to floor 8. The shock is physical. Her room is enormous. A bathtub, designer furniture, already decorated, already lived in, while Jin-soo was sleeping on cardboard, while floor 1 was using a plastic bucket for a toilet. She'd arrived at the theater in a fancy dress, spilled her coffee at the entrance, grabbed card number 8 by accident. She jumped toward the decorative pool in the atrium and broke her nose on the fake water. Made it to her room, burned her old clothes with a cigarette, and spent the first hour buying silk nightgowns and a bathtub. Then floor 7 runs the numbers out loud. Floor 8, 340,001 per minute. Floor 7, 210,000. Floor 6, 130,000. Floor 5, 80,000. Floor 4, 50,000. Floor 3, Jinsu, 30,000. Floor 2, 20,000. Floor 1, 10,001 per minute. The Fibonacci sequence, a structure so mathematically elegant it feels deliberate, until you realize nobody chose their floor knowing any of this. Floor 1 picked the lowest level because of a bad leg. Floor 8 grabbed her card by accident. Chance decided everything. The hierarchy isn't earned. It isn't deserved. It's arbitrary. And yet, watch what happens next. Floor 7 proposes a fair system. 1 meal kit per person per day. 4 remaining boxes stay with Floor 1 to share. Everyone agrees. And then Floor 8 spends a massive amount of shared time buying clothes. Nobody stops her. Not yet. The clock drops to 15 minutes. Floor 8 says she figured something out. If everyone runs up and down the stairs, the time goes back up. Nobody asks for proof. The clock is at 15 minutes, they run, and the time goes back up. That's how episode 1 ends. 8 strangers out of breath in a stairwell, learning the first rule of a game nobody fully understands yet. They think the rule is run and you earn time. They're wrong, but they won't find out until the pain gets worse. Next, they run until their bodies break. Someone collapses, and the show reveals what it actually wants from them. And it's far worse than sweat. They build a system because that's what humans do when there's no other option. 2 teams of 4. One team runs the stairs each day, the other rests. The team that runs gets extra food from the meal kits. The team that rests gets 1 box. 12 kits split across 8 people, rotated daily. It works. For a few days it works, and then the food stops being enough. Running stairs for 6 hours burns more calories than 1 meal kit replaces. Everyone is losing weight. Everyone is tired in that specific way where your legs feel like they belong to someone else. Floor 6 notices Floor 1 slowing down. His leg, the one that made him pick the lowest floor, isn't getting better. One day he stumbles, grabs the railing, nearly takes someone down with him. Floor 6 grabs his arm and twists, not to help him up, to hurt him enough that the pain forces him forward. Floor 2 watches this happen and steps forward. She's a former combat athlete, not someone who steps forward gently. She tells Floor 6 to back off. Then she takes Floor 1's spot on the stairs and runs his shift herself. That day, and the next day when it happens again. The third time, Jinsu takes over instead. He's not as strong as Floor 2. He's exhausted. But Floor 1 is a person, and Jinsu still thinks that matters. At that point, Floor 4 suggests, Floor 1 shouldn't eat if he isn't contributing. Floor 2 shuts it down immediately. You don't starve a human being. Floor 1 hears all of this. He knows what he is to this group, dead weight, carried out of obligation. So he makes a proposal. He'll take everyone's garbage. His room becomes the group's waste storage. In exchange, he keeps his food. Nobody has to run his shifts anymore. It's a dignified solution. It's also the moment Floor 1 becomes the floor's trash collector. Not because anyone forced him, but because the system left him no other way to justify his existence. Ask yourself, at what point does survival become something you should be ashamed of? Something is wrong with the clock. Floor 7 has been tracking it. The time increase from stair running has been getting smaller every day. Same duration, same effort, fewer minutes gained. And then one afternoon, while everyone is resting, the clock jumps 10 minutes on its own. Nobody is running. Nobody bought anything. The clock just went up. Floor 8 announces she's done running. She doesn't care about the consequences for the others. She points out, correctly, that her earnings are so high she has no personal incentive to spend shared time. She can buy everything she needs herself. The stair running only benefits the lower floors, and that's not her problem. It's infuriating. It's also completely logical. The group keeps running without her. 6 hours the next day. The clock barely moves. The morning arrives when the clock shows 30 minutes left. Everyone panics. Everyone runs. And Floor 4 has a seizure. She goes down mid-stride, convulsing, foam at her lips, body completely out of her control. Floor 5 is a nurse. She identifies it immediately. Epilepsy. There's a specific medication that will stop it. She names it. Floor 2 breaks away to reach the intercom. Floor 6 blocks her. His argument is mathematical. They have 30 minutes left. The medication costs time. A seizure doesn't kill you directly. Therefore, buying the medication is irrational. He's not wrong about the math. He's just decided that the math is the only thing that matters. Floor 2 hits him. Floor 6 hits back. Jin-soo and Floor 7 wade in. The whole group collapses into a brawl in the middle of the atrium. Jin-soo breaks through the chaos, reaches the intercom, orders the medication, and at that exact moment, Floor 8 starts laughing. She points at the clock. 40 hours have just been added. Floor 7 understands first. He looks at the cameras. He looks at the group, bloodied, exhausted, tangled on the floor, and he understands. It wasn't the stair running that added time. It was never the stair running. Someone is watching this show, and that someone just decided that their brawl was worth 40 hours. They're not participants in a money accumulation scheme. They're content. Next, they decide to perform. Some of them are brilliant. Some of them are desperate. The conclusion is immediate. If the show wants entertainment, they'll give it entertainment. On their terms. Floor 4 suggests a talent show. Everyone performs something. They see what works. Floor 7 goes first. He plays a recorder. With his nose? Not as a joke. As a genuine, technically accomplished performance. Steady tone, controlled melody, complete mastery of an instrument most people can barely play with their hands. The clock adds 24 hours. Floor 5 sings 10 hours. Floor 6 breaks. Bricks 15. Floor 2 combines martial arts with brick breaking. The same hands that beat Floor 6 unconscious in a fight, now precise and disciplined. 17 hours. Floor 4 sings 1.5 hours. Jin-soo does a dance that he describes as silly, and the clock gives him 18 minutes. 18 minutes. He stands there watching the number and tries not to think about what it means. Then Floor 1 goes. He's been a circus performer his entire life. He pulls out his props, juggling equipment, a red nose, the precise physical vocabulary of someone who has performed for crowds since childhood. Within minutes, he delivers a full clown act. Gags, juggling, pratfalls time to invisible music. The group watches a man who walks with a limp move through his art with total confidence. 30 hours. The single best performance of the entire show. Then Floor 8 announces her talent. She says it plainly, her talent is sex. She looks around the group. Floor 7 declines. Floor 6 volunteers without hesitation. They go upstairs. 69 hours. The group has enough time to stop running. They can rest, they can think, and they can start doing the math on what Floor 8 just demonstrated. That she can add more time in one afternoon than most of them can add in a week. Floor 1 doesn't want to be the garbage room anymore. He's made that clear. So the group holds a secret vote. Whose room takes the trash next? The obvious candidates are Jin-soo, who performed worst in the talent show, and Floor 8, whose room is by far the largest. Floor 4 quietly campaigns for Floor 8. Floor 6 works Floor 7 to vote for Jin-soo, pointing out that Jin-soo is the weakest contributor, that it's only fair. Floor 7 agrees. He votes for Jin-soo. But Floor 2 votes for Floor 8. So does Floor 1. So does Floor 5, who abstains from the politics but votes on principle. The final count: 4 votes for Floor 8, 3 for Jin-soo, 1 abstention. Floor 8 loses. She plays along, she accepts the card, she smiles. For exactly one night. The next day, the delivery chutes come down empty. Floor 8 has kept all the food for herself. 3 days pass. Floor 5 starts hallucinating. She sees meal kits appearing that aren't there, reaches for food that doesn't exist. Everyone else is running on hunger and stubbornness. Jin-soo and Floor 4 eventually offer to split the garbage duty between themselves. Floor 7 goes up to negotiate. Floor 8 agrees. On one condition, she gets to spend shared time buying clothes as much as she wants without complaint. They accept. The food comes back. Floor 7 tells the group afterward, be grateful. If she ever fully understood her position, if she realized she controls the food supply and earns 10 times what the lower floors earn, she could make them her servants without trying. The fact that she hasn't is luck, not kindness. He's right, and everyone in the room knows he's right, and nobody says it out loud. Next, Floor 8 introduces the king game. What starts as mild dares escalates into something that puts people in the hospital and reveals who in this group is capable of genuine cruelty. The king game is Floor 8's idea. 8 balls, 7 numbers, 1 marked K. Whoever draws the king picks 2 other participants and can order them to do anything. If they comply, the group earns time. If they refuse, they receive a shock from the stun gun that Floor 4 bought for the occasion. The first rounds are mild. Floor 5 becomes king and makes floors 6 and 7 hold hands. Floor 4 becomes king and makes floors 1 and 5 share a chaste kiss. The clock adds a few hours, enough to justify continuing. Then Floor 8 draws the king ball. She looks at Floor 2. She looks at Floor 6. She orders them to fight. Floor 2 is a former combat athlete. When the fight starts, she dominates. Her technique is years ahead of Floor 6's street aggression. She takes him apart cleanly, efficiently, without apparent effort. And then her wrist gives out. The same wrist she hurt breaking bricks during the talent show. Floor 6 sees it happen. The fractional hesitation, the way she adjusts her grip. He knows immediately. He stops fighting her. He starts hitting her. There's a difference. Fighting means both people are trying to win. What Floor 6 does is methodical. He finds the injury and he works it over and over until Floor 2 can't protect herself anymore, until she's on the ground and can't get up. The others have to physically drag him off her. That fight earns 50 hours. 50 hours for watching a woman get beaten unconscious. Nobody celebrates, but nobody proposes stopping the game either. Floor 4 suggests a modification. If someone refuses a king's order, they take a shock instead of fighting. That way nobody gets hurt against their will. Floor 4 buys the stun gun. The group agrees. This is presented as a humane solution. Think about what it actually is. A system that makes refusing an order painful enough that most people will comply instead. The king game continues. Next, Jin-soo faces a king's order he can't bring himself to obey. What happens next humiliates him completely. This time she orders Jin-soo to grope Floor 5. Floor 5 tries to tell him it's okay. She consents. She'd rather that than watch him get shocked. Jin-soo looks at her and makes his decision. He takes the shock. He passes out. He wakes up on the floor having wet himself. 60 hours get added to the clock. More than the brutal fight. More than Floor 1's entire clown performance. Jin-soo looks at that number. He makes a new calculation. He decides he will never refuse anything again. This is not cowardice. This is someone watching the system teach him exactly what it wants him to learn. That evening, Floor 1 comes down to Jin-soo's room in secret. He tells him the game is rigged. Floor 4 has been coating the king ball with acetone. It makes the surface slightly tacky, distinguishable by touch. Every time she puts the balls back in the box, she can feel which one is the king. She controls who wins. And Floor 8 and Floor 6 are in on it. Floor 7 follows Floor 4 that night and catches her in the act. He confronts her quietly. He tells her that people are already suspicious. If this comes out, it won't go well for her. His offer, play fair from now on, and he says nothing. She agrees. The next day, Floor 1 draws the king for the first time. He picks Floor 8 as one of his targets. Floor 7 prepares to deliver the shock to Floor 8 because the king gets to choose and Floor 1 chose. Floor 6 steps forward. He pushes Floor 7 to the ground. He picks up the stun gun and uses it on Floor 7 instead. Then he looks up at the cameras and grins. Audiences love plot twists. Floor 7 goes down hard. When he wakes up, he's in Floor 8's room. Floor 6 is there. Floor 4 is there. And Floor 8 explains, calmly, what's going to happen next. Next, the upper floors seize control. The intercoms are destroyed. The lower floors lose the ability to buy food, buy anything, and a feudal system establishes itself in a building where everyone arrived as equals. It happens fast. That's the thing nobody expects, how fast a power structure solidifies once someone decides to stop pretending. The upper floors, 8, 6, 4, and a reluctant Floor 7 who had no real choice, destroy every intercom in the lower floor rooms. They put a lock on the main square intercom. The lower floors can no longer purchase anything without permission. Then Floor 7 comes down to deliver the new terms. The lower floors, 1, 2, 3, and 5, are now labor. Every day they must earn 24 hours of time through games designed by the upper floors. If they succeed, they receive coins. 1 coin equals 3 hours of time, which can be exchanged for food or water. If they refuse, they don't eat. It's a wage system. Floor 7 doesn't call it that, but that's exactly what it is. Labor exchanged for subsistence, designed by the people who already have everything. Floor 2 tries to protest. Floor 6 raises the stun gun. Floor 1 tries to rush him and gets kicked down. Floor 6 steps on his bad leg. The lower floors go quiet. They have no weapons, no intercoms, no leverage. The math is simple and terrible. Comply or starve. The first game is hide and seek, with modifications. Each lower floor participant chooses a body part: hands, feet, tongue, or eyes. That part gets bound before the game starts. They hide. The upper floors hunt them and hit them when found. Floor 1 picks hands. Floor 5 picks feet. Jin-soo picks tongue, bound and gagged. Floor 2 picks eyes, blindfolded. Jin-soo is the last one found. He hits Floor 1. Floor 1 bleeds. The clock adds 26 hours. 26 hours for making Jin-soo, the person who replaced Floor 1 on the stairs, who fought for Floor 4's medication, beat Floor 1 with a bat. The system is patient. It knows exactly what it's doing. After each game, the coin distribution. 9 coins available. Each person writes down how many they want. Secretly, no discussion allowed. If the total exceeds 9, nobody gets anything. This is not a game. This is a mechanism designed to make poor people compete against each other for scraps while the people who designed the system watch from above. Jin-soo writes 1, cautious, trying to leave room for the others. The others each write 2. Total, 7. Jin-soo gets 1 coin, 1 bottle of water. He doesn't eat that night. The next day he watches Floor 5, who has diabetes, whose body is genuinely failing, take the bribe and break the resistance, accepting Floor 7's offer of 10 coins to be the first one to return to her room. The strike collapses. He thinks about the bridge. He thinks about the money in his account. He keeps going. Floor 7 has been quiet. He does what the upper floors tell him. He announces the games, distributes the coins, maintains the system. He is, to all appearances, one of them. On the stairs one afternoon, he passes Jin-soo going the other direction. He doesn't stop walking. He barely moves his lips. The chute makes noise. That's it. He keeps walking. Jin-soo carries those 4 words back to his room and turns them over for hours. The delivery chute. The one that runs between floors. The one they've been using to send garbage down and food up since day 1. The one that's large enough to fit a person. The noise means the upper floors will hear it moving, which means any plan using the chute needs a distraction. Floor 1 has been thinking too. He passes notes, tucked into pockets during the games, slipped through cracks in the door at night. The plan is simple. Floor 1 will scream that his stomach hurts. The upper floors will come down to investigate. In that window, Jin-soo and Floor 2 go up through the chute to Floor 1's room and get behind them. 3 problems with this plan. Floor 6 is violent, the stun gun works, and Floor 7 warned them the chute makes noise. They go ahead anyway. 2 days before the coup, Floor 7 is having dinner with Floor 8, Floor 6, and Floor 4. He reaches over at some point, a casual motion, nothing remarkable, and removes the battery from the stun gun. Nobody notices. Next, the coup. 1 room full of garbage bags, 1 bite to the ankle, and the moment Floor 2's hand finally heals. Floor 1 screams. The upper floors come down. They push open his door and find him curled on the floor, surrounded by garbage bags. Floor 6 steps inside. He looks around for what's wrong. Jin-soo and Floor 2 come through the wall behind him. A fight breaks out in a room full of trash. Floor 6 hits Jin-soo with the bat. Floor 8 arrives with the stun gun. Floor 6 grabs it from her and pulls the trigger. Nothing. Floor 6 stares at it. He tries again. Still nothing. Floor 2's hand is healed. She hits him once and he goes down. They tie up the upper floors. They move into Floor 8's room. They brew soju using Floor 8's funds, buying a recipe and making it themselves because nobody wants to spend her money on something that can be made. They sit around a makeshift fire, and for a few hours they're just people. Floor 2 speaks first about ending the show. She says they have enough money. She says they've already changed too much, that if they stay any longer, something in them won't come back. 9 hours remain on the clock. Everyone agrees. Tomorrow morning, it's over. They go to sleep. The clock jumps to 45 hours. Someone added time while they were sleeping. They check the prisoners. Floor 4 is missing a tooth, extracted while she slept, under some form of sedation. Floor 6's toenails have been removed. Every single one. Panic. There's a traitor among them. Floor 2 doesn't trust anyone. She locks all the men in their rooms and keeps only Floor 5 free, because Floor 5 has been nothing but kind and careful from the first day, and someone has to care for the prisoners. Floor 5 starts hallucinating. The exhaustion and stress erode the boundary between what's real and what she fears. She hallucinates that Floors 4 and 8 have been freed, that the crisis is over. She goes to Floor 6's room to tell him his turn is coming. Floor 6 has been waiting for exactly this. He collapses against his door. He tells her Floor 2 is going to kill him. He cries. He reaches for her through the gap in the door. Floor 5, who has been kind since day one, who has never stopped trying to protect everyone, who is genuinely, constitutionally unable to watch suffering and do nothing, opens the door. The upper floors retake control within minutes. Floor 6 has bought a real gun, 4 bullets. He wants to know who pulled his nails out. Russian roulette. Each person gets 1 trigger pull. Confess or face the odds. Floor 2, blank. He beats her with the bat anyway. She refused to confess to something she didn't do. Floor 7, real bullet. It goes through his leg. He goes down. Floor 4 immediately tears off her shirt to bandage him, not out of loyalty, but because they still need him to earn time. Jin-soo is next. Before Floor 6 reaches Floor 1, Jin-soo speaks. He suggests buying the security camera footage. Floor 8 loves this idea. She buys it immediately. They gather around the screen. It was Floor 1. He's on the footage, methodical and deliberate, using chloroform to sedate Floor 6, removing his toenails one by one, then urinating on his face. For revenge. And to extend the clock. He needed more time. He needed the show to keep going. Because Floor 1 never wanted a billion one to leave. He wanted it to switch rooms. His daughter is seriously ill. The hospital discharged her when he couldn't pay. He took out a life insurance policy and walked into traffic, trying to make it look like an accident so the payout would go to her. The limousine arrived before the car did. He's been asking for 1 billion won since the first day. Not for himself. To switch floors. He called the intercom on day 1 and asked if floor changes were possible. They said yes, for 1 billion won. His plan, from the very beginning, was to become Floor 8. Floor 6 wants to kill Floor 1. Floor 8 shoots Floor 6 with the stun gun before he can. He tumbles down the stairs. Several bones break. She's not protecting Floor 1. She's protecting her show. Floor 8 straps everyone to chairs. She tapes their eyelids open. She places bowls of water around their necks. If they fall asleep, they drown. She forces them to watch violent footage on a loop. Floors 4 and 5 are her caretakers, feeding the prisoners just enough to keep them alive. She buys a dog. She starts painting. Enormous canvases inspired by the suffering on the screens in front of her. Days pass. Jin-soo hallucinates. He sees himself at the bottom of a swimming pool. He sees the other participants dancing. He doesn't know anymore which moments are real. Floor 4 comes to feed Floor 1. He tells her quietly that she could be Floor 8, that the room switch costs 1 billion, and she's been earning 50,000 won a minute for months. Floor 4 calculates fast. She starts talking to the others in secret. The plan. Floor 8 plays golf every afternoon. In that window, Floor 5 will free the prisoners one by one. They need Floor 5's help, which means Floor 5 gets to name her condition. Floor 5's condition, Floor 6 gets castrated. No anesthetic. She'll do it herself. Everyone agrees without discussion. The day arrives. Floor 8 plays golf. Floor 5 moves. She frees Floor 1 first, then Floor 2, then works her way up. But days of immobility have destroyed Jin-soo's legs. When Floor 5 reaches him, he can barely stand. He stumbles on the stairs. The dog barks. Floor 8 turns back. She follows the sound up the stairs, gun drawn. She opens the door. Floor 4 swings a golf club into the back of her head. Floor 8 drops. There are tears in the atrium. Genuine, full tears. Not from relief, but from something that doesn't have a simple name. They've been through too much together to call each other strangers. They've been through too much to call each other friends. Floor 5 performs the procedure on Floor 6. They gather to use the billion won. Floor 1 insists on doing it himself. He's been saving for this since day 1, earning slowly while everyone else earned fast. He wants to do it with his own money, his own merit. He goes to the intercom. He sends the billion. An envelope appears in the chute. He opens it. He reads it. His face changes. The billion didn't buy a room change. It bought the instructions on how to request a room change. And Floor 8 costs 340 billion won. Floor 1 costs 10 billion. Nobody in this building, not combined, not ever, can afford to move. The hierarchy was permanent. From the first card they drew, the outcome was decided. All the running, all the suffering, all the alliances and betrayals, none of it could move them one floor. Floor 8 starts laughing. She's still tied up and she's laughing. Floor 1 looks at the envelope. He looks at the gun. He loses it. He pulls the gun. He ties everyone to chairs. He buys circus equipment with the group's remaining funds. He rigs a wire 5 meters above the atrium floor. No net, no padding, nothing below him but tiles. He's going to earn the money. He's going to perform his way to a floor change. He's going to prove the system wrong by being good enough, by being spectacular enough, by deserving it enough. He walks the wire. The group watches, tied to their chairs, unable to help or stop him. He starts jumping in place, no net, 5 meters up, each jump a small act of defiance against a hierarchy that never cared about his skill or his suffering or his love for his daughter. The clock adds hundreds of hours. He slips. He grabs a camera. His weight tears it from the wall. He falls onto it as it hits the floor and catches fire. Jin-soo breaks his restraints. He looks at Floor 1 burning. He looks at the clock adding time. He looks at the cameras. He picks up the gun. He starts shooting cameras. One by one, working through the atrium, the stairwell, every angle. Floor 2 gets free and helps him. They destroy every camera in the building until every screen goes dark and the show has nothing left to show. The clock hits 0. The doors open. But it's too late for Floor 1. He apologizes to the group, not for what he did to Floor 6, not for the coup attempt, but for the trouble, for being the reason they had to stay. He dies in the atrium. His daughter will never know he was here. She'll be told he was working abroad. Floor 8 looks at the scene and says it's the perfect ending. She means it. Jin-soo walks out into the empty theater. 2.5 months have passed since he walked in. There's an envelope, a congratulations message. On the main screen, the end. He stands there in the silence for a moment, then he walks out. Jin-soo organizes a funeral for Floor 1. He makes posters by hand and puts them up on the streets, hoping the others will see them. Floors 2, 4, and 5 come. Floor 6 sends flowers. He doesn't attend. His injuries made that impossible, and perhaps more than that. Floor 7 doesn't come either, but Jin-soo learns that Floor 7 found Floor 1's family before anyone else did. He told them Floor 1 was working abroad. He gave them half his winnings, enough for his daughter's treatment, enough for the family to live without fear for years. He did this quietly, without telling anyone, without expecting credit. Floor 8 is in prison. She bought an excavator after leaving and demolished an art gallery that had once humiliated her, standing outside it while wealthy visitors threw coins at her performance. She spent every one she earned on fines. She has nothing left, and she seems fine with that. In the final scene, Floor 7 sits across from a TV producer. He slides a script across the table. The title on the cover, The 8 Show. The producer reads it. He jokes that he participated in a show like that once, that it made him very rich. He laughs. Floor 7 doesn't laugh. Then the producer asks, "Is this fiction? Did any of this really happen?" Floor 7 says yes. It's all fiction. His hands are trembling. This drama isn't about a game. It's about what happens when you take 8 ordinary people, Give them a hierarchy they didn't choose, and then watch how fast they each decide that hierarchy is natural, deserved, permanent. Floor 8 didn't become cruel because she was always cruel. She became cruel because the system gave her the means and the structure to be cruel, and nobody stopped her because stopping her cost time. Floor 1 didn't become a saboteur because he was always dangerous. He became a saboteur because the only currency the show accepted was entertainment, and the only thing he had to offer was pain. Jin-soo spent the whole show being good, being fair, making the decent choice even when it cost him. And at the end, he left with a fraction of what the upper floors earned, a body full of damage and a receipt for destroyed cameras. The show never asked any of them to be good. It asked them to be interesting. And in a system designed purely around entertainment, interesting and good are almost never the same thing. The real question is, what would you have done? Not in the crisis moments, the seizure, the coup, the wire. In the quiet ones. When Floor 8 kept the food. When the coin game made Floor 5 betray the strike. When Jin-soo decided never to refuse anything again. At what point does the system stop being something done to you and start being something you're doing? The 8 show doesn't answer that. It just hands you the question and leaves you sitting with it. If this story stayed with you, stay with me. There are more stories worth your attention, so subscribe, and I'll see you in the next immersion.